You know what nobody tells you about getting rich? The people who actually have money don't look like they have money. And the ones flashing designer logos and luxury cars, they're usually broke. There's a reason for that. A psychological reason that runs so deep, most people will spend their entire lives on the wrong side of this equation without ever realizing they've been playing a rigged game. And if you've ever felt that quiet rage watching someone less talented than you succeed while you struggle, if you've ever wondered why your hard work doesn't translate into the wealth you deserve, you're about to understand something that will change everything. Here's what's happening in your life right now, and you might not even see it. You wake up, you work hard, you make decent money, maybe even good money, but somehow the gap between you and real wealth keeps widening. You watch people around you accumulate power and resources while you're stuck in the same financial position year after year, just with slightly better furniture. You tell yourself it's about luck or connections or timing, but deep down, there's this nagging feeling that you're missing something fundamental, something everyone else seems to understand instinctively. And you're right, you are missing something, but it's not what you think. The first thing you need to understand is this: wealth doesn't announce itself. Real wealth whispers. This is the foundational psychological mechanism that separates those who build empires from those who build Instagram feeds. Your brain has been programmed since childhood to associate success with visibility, the big house, the luxury car, the designer clothes, the social media presence that screams, "I made it." But here's what that programming does to you. It makes you spend energy and resources on signals instead of substance. Every dollar you invest in appearing successful is a dollar that doesn't compound. Every hour you spend curating an image of wealth is an hour you're not spending building actual wealth. And the truly wealthy understand this at a cellular level. They dress like accountants. They drive reliable cars. They live in nice but unremarkable neighborhoods. Why? Because they learned rule number one. The moment you start performing wealth, you stop accumulating it. Think about the psychology of this for a second. When you broadcast your success, three things happen simultaneously. First, you become a target. Suddenly, everyone has a problem you can solve with your money, a business opportunity you can't miss, a need you're morally obligated to fulfill. Your family becomes needier. Your friends become more demanding. Strangers feel entitled to your resources. Second, you trigger social comparison in everyone around you. You activate their envy, their resentment, their competitive instincts. You create enemies you don't even know exist. And third, you lock yourself into a performance you now have to maintain. That luxury car payment becomes non-negotiable. That expensive lifestyle becomes your identity. You've built a prison of expectations, and you're both the prisoner and the guard. But here's the truth that hurts. Most people don't want to be wealthy. They want to appear wealthy. They want the validation that comes from others seeing their success. They want the dopamine hit of admiration, of envy, of being perceived as someone who made it. And this desire, this deep psychological need for external validation, is precisely what keeps them from actual wealth. Because real wealth accumulation requires something most people aren't willing to give: invisibility, obscurity, the willingness to be underestimated, overlooked, and dismissed while you quietly build something that matters. And that's terrifying. Because if nobody sees you winning, if nobody acknowledges your success, if you can't post about it or celebrate it publicly, does it even count? Your ego screams no. Your wallet whispers yes. Let me tell you about Marcus. Successful guy, at least by conventional standards, makes 6 figures in tech, bought a Tesla the moment he could afford the payments, upgraded his apartment to a luxury building in the trendy part of town, posts about his achievements, his lifestyle, his grind. Everyone in his network sees him as someone who's made it. Here's what they don't see. Marcus has $847 in his savings account. His net worth after debt is roughly negative $40,000. He's one job loss away from financial catastrophe. But he looks successful. He feels successful when people compliment his car or his apartment. Meanwhile, his colleague Sarah, who makes the same salary, drives a 10-year-old Honda and lives in a modest apartment. Nobody congratulates Sarah. Nobody asks her for advice. Nobody thinks she's particularly successful. Sarah has $340,000 in investments and owns 3 rental properties. Sarah will retire at 45. Marcus will work until he physically can't anymore. The difference? Sarah understands what Marcus will never learn. Wealth is what you keep, not what you show. Now let's go deeper, because the problem isn't just external. It's not just society conditioning you to equate visibility with success. The real sabotage is happening inside your own mind. Your brain is actively working against your wealth accumulation, and it's doing it for what it believes are good reasons. See, your brain evolved for survival in small tribes where social status directly correlated with access to resources. Being seen as successful meant being valuable to the group. Being admired meant being protected. So when you make money and hide it, when you accumulate wealth invisibly, your brain interprets this as a survival threat. It screams, they don't know we're valuable, we're not safe, we need to show them. And this is why you feel that compulsion to upgrade, to celebrate publicly, to prove yourself. Your ancient survival mechanisms are convinced that invisible success equals vulnerability. But here's the twist. In the modern world of wealth accumulation, the exact opposite is true. Visibility equals vulnerability. Invisibility equals power. And this is where it becomes dangerous. Because once you understand this, once you see the game clearly, you realize how many people in your life are actively invested in keeping you visible and broke. Not maliciously, not consciously, but your consumption supports their businesses. Your visibility validates their choices. Your financial mediocrity makes them feel better about their own. When you start operating like the truly wealthy do, when you stop participating in the performance of success, people get uncomfortable. They ask what's wrong. They wonder if you're struggling. They offer unsolicited advice about treating yourself and enjoying life. They're genuinely confused when you choose the practical option over the prestigious one. And if you're not psychologically prepared for this, if you haven't built the internal strength to withstand social pressure, you'll crack. You'll buy something expensive to prove you're still doing well. You'll make a visible purchase to stop the questions. And just like that, you're back in the game you were trying to escape. The wealthy understand something about information asymmetry that you need to internalize. Let people underestimate you. While they're dismissing you as ordinary or struggling or playing small, you're accumulating resources they can't see. You're building systems they don't understand. You're making moves they won't recognize until it's far too late to compete. This is rule number 2, and it's purely Machiavellian. Your greatest asset is being underestimated. When people think you're broke, they don't ask you for money. When people think you're struggling, they don't invite you into expensive social obligations. When people think you're ordinary, they don't study your methods or try to copy your strategy. You operate in a psychological blind spot, and that blind spot is where fortunes are built. Quick pause. If you had to describe yourself in one word regarding the 7 Machiavellian rules to get rich without anyone noticing, what would it be? Write it in the comments, then we'll dive deeper. Because what we're about to cover next is where most people's understanding completely falls apart. They think wealth is about income, about salary, about how much money comes in. And this fundamental misunderstanding is why they stay broke despite making good money. Here's the realization that changes everything. Wealth isn't about what you earn, it's about what you keep and multiply. And the multiplication part, that's where the real Machiavellian strategy comes in. See, every wealthy person you've ever heard of built their fortune using other people's resources, other people's money, other people's time, other people's expertise. But they don't talk about this part. They talk about hard work and vision and risk-taking, and those things matter, sure, but the core mechanism is leverage. Understanding how to use resources you don't own to build wealth you do own. The corporate executive building wealth through stock options and company resources, the real estate investor using bank money and tenant income to acquire property, the business owner scaling through employees and systems rather than personal labor. They're all playing the same game. Convert other people's resources into personal wealth while maintaining complete invisibility about the mechanism. Your employee mindset trains you to think linearly. More hours equals more money. Better performance equals higher salary. But there's a ceiling to that model, and you've probably already hit it. You're trading time for money, and there are only so many hours in a day. Only so much your time can be worth in the market. The wealthy don't think in hours. They think in systems. They build mechanisms that generate value whether they're working or sleeping. And here's the part that makes this truly Machiavellian. They use your linear thinking against you. They hire you for a salary that feels generous. You feel valued, successful even. Meanwhile, your labor generates 5 or 10 times your salary in value for them. The delta between what you're paid and what you produce, that's how they get wealthy. And they do it while making you feel grateful for the opportunity. Now you're starting to see it. The game within the game. And you're probably feeling something uncomfortable right now. Maybe anger, maybe shame. Maybe the sinking realization that you've been playing by rules designed to keep you exactly where you are. And that's good. That discomfort is your mind reorganizing itself around new information. Because here's what you're actually understanding. The reason you're not wealthy isn't that you're not smart enough or working hard enough. It's that you're playing a different game than the people who are winning. They're playing chess while you're playing checkers. And the board looks the same, so you don't realize you're at a fundamental disadvantage. Let's talk about the psychology of compartmentalization, because this is rule number 4 and it's critical. The wealthy separate their identities. They have a public self that's modest, unremarkable, forgettable, and they have a private reality where they're building empires. You, on the other hand, try to be authentic and consistent. You want your outside to match your inside. You want your success to be visible and acknowledged. And this psychological need for coherence is costing you everything. Because when your entire identity is public and consistent, you're predictable. You're targetable. You're vulnerable. The wealthy create layers. They have the neighborhood they live in and the properties they own elsewhere. They have the job title people know about and the business ventures nobody discusses. They have the modest lifestyle everyone sees and the investment portfolio nobody knows exists. Here's what this looks like in practice. You meet someone at a social gathering. They're pleasant but unremarkable. Nice person, seems to work a regular job, drives a normal car, lives in an average neighborhood. You never guess that this person owns 17 rental properties, has a portfolio worth several million, and makes more in a month than you make in a year. Why would you guess that? Nothing about their presentation suggests wealth. And that's exactly the point. They've mastered the art of social camouflage. They blend in. They avoid envy, avoid requests, avoid becoming a target. They've realized that the peacock gets shot while the sparrow survives. And survival, in the wealth accumulation game, means staying off everyone's radar while you build something that outlasts you. Rule number 5 is about strategic patience. And this is where most people completely fail. You want wealth now. You want results immediately. You make money and you spend it on things that make you feel wealthy today. But the actual wealthy, they have a completely different relationship with time. They think in decades. They make decisions based on where they'll be in 20 years, not where they'll be next month. They're willing to look broke today if it means being genuinely wealthy tomorrow. And this patience isn't passive. It's strategic. It's calculated. It's the patience of a hunter who knows exactly when to strike and exactly when to wait. While you're chasing short-term validation and immediate gratification, they're building compounding systems that will generate wealth long after they stop actively working. And here's the brutal truth about compounding that nobody explains properly. It's not just about investment returns. It's about compounding knowledge, compounding relationships, compounding systems, compounding invisibility. Every year you stay under the radar is a year your competitors don't see you coming. Every dollar you don't spend on status is a dollar that compounds. Every visible success you avoid celebrating is one less target on your back. The wealthy understand that compounding works in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They're not just growing their money, they're growing their knowledge about how money works. They're growing their network of other wealthy people who actually understand the game. They're growing their systems for generating and protecting wealth. And they're doing all of this while everyone else is distracted by the performance of success. Think about what this means for you right now. Every visible purchase you make is announcing to the world, I have resources available. Every social media post about your success is data that can be used against you. Every time you pick up the check or buy the expensive option or upgrade your lifestyle, You're broadcasting vulnerability disguised as strength. And the people who understand this, the people who are actually wealthy, they see you doing this and they know exactly what it means. It means you're still playing the wrong game. It means you can be exploited. It means you're not a threat because you're too busy performing to build anything real. Now let's talk about rule number 6. Wealth loves silence. The moment you talk about your financial success, you create 3 immediate problems. First, you give people information they can use to extract resources from you. Second, you trigger social comparison and envy, turning neutral relationships into adversarial ones. And third, you lock yourself into maintaining whatever image you've created. But here's the deeper psychological mechanism. Talking about wealth disperses the energy you need to build wealth. Your brain gets the dopamine hit from the recognition and stops being hungry for the actual achievement. It's the same reason people who constantly talk about their goals rarely achieve them. The talking satisfies the psychological need that should be driving the action, so the wealthy stay silent. Not because they're modest, not because they're humble, but because they understand that silence protects and motivates simultaneously. The final rule, rule number 7, is the most Machiavellian of all. Create strategic dependencies while avoiding dependencies yourself. This means you position yourself so that other people need you more than you need them. You build wealth in ways that don't rely on any single income source, any single relationship, any single system. You diversify not just your investments, but your entire existence. Meanwhile, you make yourself valuable to others in ways that create ongoing obligation. You help people strategically. You share knowledge selectively. You build relationships where you're the one with options while others are locked in. This isn't about being cruel. It's about understanding power dynamics and positioning yourself advantageously in every exchange. The wealthy don't have jobs. They have options. They don't have bosses. They have relationships they can end at any time. They're not stuck. They're not desperate. They're not vulnerable. And that freedom comes from building wealth nobody sees while creating value everyone needs. If this video resonates with you, simply write invisible in the comments. This simple word helps tremendously and shows you understood. Because what we're really talking about here isn't just about money. It's about power. It's about freedom. It's about building a life where you're not at the mercy of economic systems designed to extract from you. And the path to that freedom runs directly through invisibility. So here's how you actually regain control. First, you stop the performance immediately. Today, right now. No more purchases made for how they look to others. No more lifestyle inflation. No more broadcasting success. You become boring, unremarkable, forgettable, and you redirect every dollar you are spending on appearance into actual wealth building. Index funds, real estate, business ventures, skills development, things that compound. Second, you create compartments. Your public life becomes a strategic presentation designed to avoid attention and obligation. Your private life becomes where you build real wealth. You separate these completely. Nobody at work knows about your side business. Nobody in your family knows about your investment portfolio. Nobody on social media knows about your actual financial situation. You become a mystery. And mysteries don't get targeted. Third, you study the wealthy like you're preparing for war. Not the fake wealthy, not the Instagram rich, the actual wealthy, the ones you don't hear about. You study their patterns, their strategies, their psychology. You learn how they think about money, time, relationships, and power. And you adopt those patterns while maintaining complete invisibility about what you're doing. Fourth, you build systems that generate value without your constant input. This is non-negotiable. Whether it's a business, a portfolio, a skill set that commands premium pricing, you must escape the time for money trap. You must create mechanisms that work while you sleep. And finally, you develop the psychological strength to be underestimated, to be overlooked, to be dismissed as ordinary while you're building something extraordinary. This is the hardest part because it goes against every instinct your ego has. Your ego wants credit, wants recognition, wants everyone to know how smart and successful you are. But your ego is not your friend in wealth building. Your ego is the enemy. The wealthy have killed their need for external validation. They've replaced it with the quiet satisfaction of knowing what they've built. They don't need you to see them winning. They just need to win. If this type of content resonates with you, don't hesitate to subscribe to explore other psychological truths together. The truly wealthy move through the world like ghosts, accumulating power and resources while everyone else is distracted by the performance, and by the time anyone notices what they've built, it's far too late to catch up.